Good morning. Yes, I love this Kenyan phrase of all protocol observed. There's another one that says, I stand on the protocol of the speakers before me, but I'm not sure that anybody actually did a whole list. But I think today there's so many prominent people here in the audience that it would take quite a while to really recognize everybody. So I think I'll just go directly into my speech because you're all important here. So you all should feel recognized. I'm very happy to be here today at the 7th Circular Economy Conference in Nairobi, and the fact that it's the 7th shows how much of an importance Kenya is placing on this. Together, we will explore the global, regional, national efforts towards a circular economy in Kenya, showcase pioneering ideas, and we saw some of those already this morning, share global visions, and see their local applications and impact. But let me start a little bit with the bigger picture of where we are globally. The world is currently preparing for the next United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP27, the African COP, at Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. The COP is titled Together for Implementation. What opportunities and challenges will this bring to the private sector in Kenya? The fact that this year's COP27 is happening in an African country has a great symbolic significance. Africa is the continent that is the most exposed to climate change, but has been the smallest contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. However, it is not only the climate that we have to worry about. In fact, we often say, and my predecessor said it, we are currently facing a triple planetary crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. The three crises are deeply interlinked and are a great challenge for humanity. As an example of such an interlinkage, a changing climate, together with growing pollution, are causing many species to go extinct, and thus biodiversity loss. However, this also means that solutions can address several of these challenges at the same time. The Climate COP will explore some of these interlinkages. The COP27 will put the emphasis on the implementation of the Paris Agreement and the nationally determined contributions. We expect that COP27 will put Africa front and center of the discussions, in line with the realization that African countries are some of the worst exposed and experience some of the most severe impacts of climate change. Soon after the Climate COP, we will have COP15 on biodiversity taking place in Montreal, which will similarly address such interlinkages of climate, pollution, and biodiversity. The aim of the Biodiversity COP is to adopt the post-2020 biodiversity framework. The draft biodiversity framework includes ambitious long-term goals and foresees milestone measures to be implemented by 2030, with the ultimate aim to live in harmony with nature by 2050. From the EU side, we hope for transformative actions to be taken to deploy solutions in order to reduce threats to biodiversity, which will affect all sectors. The transition to a circular economy will be essential in reaching the goals of both COP27 and COP15. Ladies and gentlemen, let me quickly shift from looking forward to looking back. This year's UN Environmental Assembly, right here in Nairobi, endorsed the start of two important processes. It agreed to prepare and establish the Science Policy Panel on Chemicals, Waste, and Pollution, and it agreed to initiate negotiations of a global agreement on plastics. This agreement will have to address all the stages of life cycle of plastics, from materials to design, production, consumption, and waste. I understand that tomorrow there will be a Kenya Plastics Pact Summit here in Nairobi, and I congratulate the organizers on this timely event. Especially relevant for this Circular Economy Conference is the work of the UN 10-year framework of programs on sustainable consumption and production. This framework is developing a global framework for action leading up to 2030. This new framework will reflect the importance of multi-stakeholder dialogues on sustainable consumption and production and resource efficiency. On the EU side, we take this triple challenge to the planet extremely seriously. This is why the European Union has put so much emphasis on what we call the Green Deal. On the climate change front, we have pledged to reach zero net emissions by 2050, with a 55% reduction already by 2030. The European Union's Green Deal is the EU's growth strategy to transition the EU economy to a sustainable economic model. Presented in December 2019, the Green Deal promotes a sustainable and circular economy in all of society. It covers many sectors and is to be implemented not only by governments, but by businesses and finance institutions, research and university, and civic actors. Striving towards climate action, it involves the headings of clean energy, sustainable industry, buildings and renovations, sustainable mobility, the elimination of pollution, as well as agriculture and biodiversity. To raise ambitions, we need to transform all parts of our societies and build a modern development model. This is the challenge that our political masters have given us internally, but it is also a task that we have set ourselves in relations to the rest of the world, in our negotiations at international conferences, just as much as in our bilateral engagements, just like here in Kenya. What then does that mean for you, the Kenyan business community? And what does it mean for European investors? Kenya's private sector is increasingly aware that the new business opportunities emanate of all of the new business opportunities that are emanating from the green transition. As an example, the implementation of Kenya's waste management will offer endless economic opportunities of repair, repurpose, recycle. For investment purposes, in the EU, investors are increasingly looking and asking for enhanced clarity on what economic activities they can unambiguously consider environmentally sustainable. The European Investment Bank, for example, has become a green bank and now only engages in products that are green. I therefore am convinced that this Circular Economy Conference comes at a very good time, and I hope that it will lead to fruitful discussions and business opportunities. I wish to thank the organizers that have made this important conference possible, and I want to thank everybody who's come here either in person or is there online, and I very much wish you a productive time. Asante sana.